So this week of astrology, the 26th of April 2021 through 2nd May 2021, it's continuing our fixed sign burden of this spring, this really heavy period with 6 of the 7 traditional planets in fixed signs as the moon moves through the zodiac and hits these fixed signs. And these heavy structures of society continue to weigh us down. Our set patterns are kind of locking us in, and these long-standing pressures, these kind of fixtures of our reality, aren't letting us go. And we have to be confronted with them. We have to confront them and be confronted by them. It's part of life. But we must get to know these limitations. That's part of how we can thrive, is understanding the limits and the borders of what we push up against. And making friends with those borders eventually, because if we don't, there's tremendous pain. And this climaxes, of course, in this full moon in Scorpio, conjunct the Southern Cross constellation, which is a cross that you think of, the cross of Christ, right, of burdens. And, we're suffering here, hopefully for a purpose. So let's jump in. Let's check out the transits this week. It's in terms of just configurations that are perfecting, it's actually a slower week with only Mercury and Venus conjoining here on the 26th of April 2021. And that's Monday, so that's the start of this week. It's actually right around hours after I'll release this video, because it will be still Sunday in North America, but it's just 20 minutes after the clock turns into Monday here where I am in Central Europe. This Venus-Mercury conjunction in Taurus, the sign that Venus rules, I'd like to be excited about it. I really would, but it's, and not to poo-poo it. I mean, we can sort of lean in as best we can to what this naturally wants to signify, which is things like technical creativity. I often see this when I read natal charts. Individuals that are filmmakers, it's kind of the classic filmmaker or photography or any of these technical arts, because Venus is the pretty colors and the visual pleasure, and Mercury is that thinking and that logic and that technique and that particularity. So when these combine, it can be very good for those types of creative acts. The thing is, this conjunction will perfect very close to this Saturn square. So Saturn in Aquarius is still dominating and overcoming this conjunction, and it's in superior position in terms of the zodiacal order. I think here we're just still holding on. I think this fixed pileup this week is really about holding on, and what's solid will remain, and what needs to go away needs to go away. That's sort of the nature of fixed signs in a sense. They're going to, and with Saturn being involved there in Aquarius, it's a shakedown. It's a shakedown. You shake that tree, right? And it's fixed, it's solid. Things may fall, but you have this solid core of the tree and of the leaves that remain. Or you shake your hair, sometimes little hairs fall out. Of course, with long hairs, they fall out a lot. I didn't really know that before I grew long hair, managing the shedding. But, there's fixed structures too. And so I just think this whole week is about hanging on. And when we're through with this, Jupiter's going to enter Pisces and really soon now. Where are we? We're on April 25th. So we've only got about 3 weeks that will really shift out of this fixed heavy energy and give us some nice mutable power. Remember, Jupiter rules mutable signs because it's about truth, wisdom, knowledge, gifts. It's these things that can change us for the better. And that's what mutable signs are. They're the changeable signs in between two states. So I think we'll begin here, or at least have a chance for these 3 months to change out of this heavy duty fixed purification, and these solid things that will remain, we can use them and lean into them for this summer and then into 2022. So here I'm just thinking, with this Mercury-Venus conjunction, we can either use maybe our filmmaking side, whatever that is for you. Maybe it's drawing, or maybe it's organizing in a beautiful way. We can either use that or understand that if we're blocked from doing that, it's because Saturn is ruling the roost. And so it's kind of a self-forgiveness thing. It's all right, Saturn's taking over. I'm just going to get through this time, even if I'm not able to be productive. I've been feeling a lot like that. I've had a lot going on and haven't been as productive as I normally like to be. Of course, I've written 2 big articles and I've actually been quite productive, but there's always that voice, that wants to put pressure. But this is a kind of, when I see this is why astrology works and helps, is because we can see the configurations and know that these fixed pileups are the cause of maybe some of the turmoil. And remember, this was last week too with the Leo moon. We began with this 6 of the 7 traditionals and fixed signs. Now we go from Leo to Scorpio with this full moon, 6 of the 7 traditionals and fixed signs. And then we'll also get that with this Aquarius moon. So actually, let me just check this. Let me see here. I'm going to do this right this time. I'm going to make sure that you can see that. So I'm doing the screen share. I'm going to animate here, and let's just see how many more fixed here. Oh, we already are animating. How many more of these 6 of the 7 traditional planets and fixed sign transits we're going to have. So here's the Scorpio moon. Here is this Aquarius moon. We still have it. Oh, no, actually we don't. Sorry. Mercury will enter Gemini during this next Aquarius moon transit. So it's only those first few degrees of the moon's transit through Aquarius. And this will be into Monday and Sunday this week. We'll get that, that Mercury still in Taurus. So we do have one little kind of finishing touch of this fixed sign pressure and activation. What are the fixed signs of your nativity? Are they the angular houses? Maybe it's more dynamic for you this time. Are they the money houses and the 5th and 11th house, these kind of money houses and friendship and gifts? Or is it the cadent houses, which is the 3rd, 9th of travel, and then those difficult 6th, 12th axis? So that might be one way to think about how this pileup has affected you. But this will end here this week. And so we've had this 2-week period of this, like I said, fixed pileup is the best way I can phrase it. I mean, if I were to unpack it more, it's just what I was saying earlier. It's these structures just pressing down, and we're confronted with them. So anyhow, let me go back to the other PPT. That's the good thing about doing this format. I can just go back to Solar Fire. And some of you have said you've liked it in the comments. So I appreciate your comments actually very much. It helps me figure out where I'm going and what I'm doing with my channel and with how I'm operating. So, and so this was Monday, like I said, Mercury-Venus conjoining. The other thing I just want to mention this week, the moon has got a tough run this week. It starts in Libra, being overcome by Mars. Okay, then the moon moves into Scorpio on Monday in the sign of its fall, where it will be full, ruled by Mars in Cancer, which is in the sign of its fall. Now there's some great stuff about that exchange, which I'll get to in a second, that trine, that water trine between Mars and the moon, a mutual reception. But then the moon gets to the south node in Sagittarius. That can drain its power. That can be a tougher transit. Then the moon is in Capricorn, opposite Mars. I think that would be, again, sort of a challenging Mars-Moon exchange. And then you have the moon joining Saturn in Aquarius with that 6 of the 7 for those first degrees, like I said, to finish out the week. So this is really a rough time for this moon in the zodiac right now with the way it's configured to the planets. And just remember, this is part of the waning cycle after this full moon, which comes in on, I believe it's Wednesday. No, it's Tuesday. It's early morning Tuesday or Monday if you're in North America, right around midnight. So basically the rest of this week you have the waning moon energy, and this might be that the rest that we like with the waning moon, maybe it's hard to come by this week with all the Saturn Mars activating the moon and these dynamic angular relationships. So, sometimes the come down can be painful is the way I think about this. We try to rest, but we just can't rest. No rest for the wicked. Hopefully you're not, haven't been wicked, but I was thinking actually when I was preparing this, I can't get no relief, that Bob Dylan line, from All Along the Watchtower. And that again actually deals with evil and themes of good and evil and morals and ethics, and I think with the fixed signs, it can bring up questions of ethics, because those ethical center, our ethical center is kind of the rudder of who we are and the character that we carry into the world. And when we are maybe deviating or not to get negative, but let's say we're playing with the boundaries of our own ethics, that can kind of jostle that fixed sense of our identity. I find when I'm dealing with heavy duty questions of morality and ethics, it does sometimes make relief elusive. There's like staying up at night or waking up and having to, call a friend or just do journaling. Like things that are intense emotionally require the energy, the attention, and they just sort of grab you and won't let you go. And so maybe this waning moon cycle is some of that processing, that emotional processing. And the big part of why I think that is the case is because this is here now, the full moon, if we're going to talk about it, the 27th on Tuesday, early in the morning. It's in the water sign Scorpio, but with the ruler of the full moon, Mars, in Cancer, the emotional cardinal water sign, in that mutual reception, that water trine. And so both planets are fallen, but then they have to rely on each other via domicile rulership. So I think this is a situation where the domicile rulership mutual reception, it's a mitigation. It doesn't remove the intensity, the emotional intensity of this lunation, or the syzygy rather. And, emotional breakthroughs, really they only happen when it's painful. That's my experience. And this week I'll share a story with you right before I left. I'm in a new city now, but I was packing and stuff. I put on this movie, Children of Men. I saw it in the theater. I've seen it many times, but I hadn't watched it in a few years, and it's been going around Twitter. People have been recommending it because there's some analogies to the present state of the world. And that movie had me, I was bawling like a little baby. It ripped me open, and it felt so good. It felt so good to cry and be touched by the heavy-duty themes of the film, the intense emotional themes, and that's what I always think of Scorpio, the places inside of us that can be touched so that we have to weep. Those are deeply fixed emotional, energetics, emotional structures inside of us. That's the fixed sign, that's Scorpio. And that's why they talk about something cuts deep. That's the phraseology. This is Mars. Mars cuts. And that's why we cry or weep, because we've been cut to our core, and then it comes out and releases. This is the kind of stuff I'm thinking this full moon will trigger. And then we have 2 weeks of this syzygy sending itself out in the lunation cycle. We get 2 weeks after the full moon, where that's the root chart for those 2 weeks. So I would just think, if you're going to cry or have breakthroughs, look for that and comfort yourself. Remember, the moon and Cancer, where Mars is, this is motherly energy. And there's nothing like, I remember my life being the times I've been best nurtured by people. When I think about when's the best examples in my life of being someone giving me that motherly love, is when I was broken. I was held once by people that loved me and just held me when I was broken. This is the kind of opportunity, I think, for the syzygy, even though it's really difficult. So, and remember, this is actually 6 of the 7 traditional again, and Saturn, if you look here, is at 12 degrees Aquarius, so Aquarius 13, and then the syzygy is at Scorpio 8. So we're talking about a 5-degree exchange, pretty close, and applying with Saturn there. So be prepared to feel it, is what I would say, and love yourself, nurture yourself, or find someone that can nurture you. Be there for others. That's another way to do it. Maybe you're going to be the holder and the stable Saturn to hold someone as the breaking. If you can do that, that's always a great thing to give people, your attention and your love and your emotional sort of stability. Saturn and Aquarius, someone may need you they might need you to be the active stability of Saturn and Aquarius when they're going to be in puddles, and wrecked. So the other thing I want to mention, and I got a comment on Twitter when I was talking about the syzygy 2 videos ago. I've been really jammed up with these articles, and I'm trying to get as much as I can with the channel and make these videos as much, including as much information as I can. But someone was asking about the fixed star conjunction, so I wanted to include those this week. This one fixed star that I found, Gaukrux, and it's in the Southern Cross. So it's the northern, the head of the cross. And it's another thing where this symbolism of the constellation of the cross, and then this star in the head, right? You think about, if you're on a crucifix, this is maybe where the face and the emotion can be shown, and it's suffering and burden. And these are the delineations that you find in some of the fixed star astrologers. It's just the classic, it's the cross, and you're pinned, and you're suffering and you're taking on burden, again, this is part of the 6 of 7 traditional planets being in fixed signs. That's a cross. You're fixed on a cross when you're hanging on a cross. Your cross that you're bearing, right? That's something that's fixed with you like a harness. And then, of course, the water sign, mutual reception, that's the emotion. That's the pain. Mars ruling the syzygy, the cutting deep. So there's a lot of themes of suffering and burden and difficulty here. And this constellation, the Southern Cross and God Crux, the fixed star, just hits home with what I was speaking about before. This is why I look at the fixed star projected ecliptic degree position of these fixed stars, because it sometimes thematically it just really coheres. And then that's how we know the universe is saying, all right, the themes we talked about just by looking at the chart itself and the planets and the configurations, the fixed star now doubles up that theme, and that's okay, universe, I'm listening now, because it's doubling and tripling up. Then we pull a tarot card and then it quadruples up. That's why we always pull the tarot cards. But let's keep going here. So the last thing I wanted to talk about, the moon, the lunar transit, my kind of transit of the week that I always like to do. You know, it's tough, like I was saying, but check out this Sagittarius moon if you can get it here. So I can get it where I am, somewhat near the IC. But the moon will be late Sag, so pretty well separated from the south node, but applying to Jupiter, its ruler. Jupiter in late Aquarius. So that's kind of the sweetest little transit I can find, you know, other than this sweet emotional release of the syzygy of this full moon. I do think that's a beautiful transit. I wanted to pick that one, but from a strict electional astrological perspective, we just avoid the moon in Scorpio as a rule. I mean, just not going to do it. And then the ruler of the moon being in difficult condition, and the mutual reception is a great mitigation. But I would say this Sagittarius moon might be kind of the pocket I'm more comfortable with as offering, okay, transit of the week. Even though I am excited about this full moon, don't get me wrong. We need to purify and go face the demons, as it were, face the challenge. I mean, we should be thankful, in my view, of challenge. I mean, I know so many people. I was reading a friend of mine on Instagram, health crisis, child had health crisis, now they're healthy, you know, and I think there's something about the empathy that's generated when we go through suffering and come out on the other side. I know for me, I mean, I love people and I love life way more than I would have if I hadn't gone through some of the difficulties in my life, you know, some of the loss I've experienced, some of these, you know, crazy emotions and insanity, you know, traumas that I've overcome, and then my own kind of adulting and facing the world, my Saturn return, you know, getting to the other side of that has opened me up for empathy. So I embrace these kind of lunar transits or transits in general that have difficulty, but that mutual reception is where this opportunity can come. Okay, so what I was saying here was that, you know, as we're doing a wind down here with this waning moon, ideas, truth, study as a way to wind down. You know, you might find a book that you can pick up will help you process. If you can't do your filmmaking or your technical art or whatever that is, maybe you just pick up a book. I know for me, I just got on Kindle one of my favorite writers, Philip K. Dick. I just love his writing because it's easy to read and it brings you right in. He's a great writer. I find it's not a challenge for me to read it. I want to read it. And I've got his Valis trilogy. I've read Valis, but I'm reading the other two now. And I picked it up and I'm just reading through it. And it's a nice way for me to deal with the pain, the challenge, the struggle, the uncertainty, and confronting the structures, confronting the limitations in my own life. So that might be something you can do here. I mean, you know, Sagittarius is the kind of truth and study and reading even. And, you know, Dick's just one example. His books are very much about these high-level wisdom offerings through narrative. And so that's what I'm doing. So anyhow, this is the weekly astrology. I send you my love and good tidings and good energy this week for you. Get through this. It's going to toughen you up for this summer period where Jupiter can open us up into this mutable shift and change. I think all of our lives are going to change with Jupiter in Pisces coming up here very, very soon. So, okay, let's get a tarot reading. Let's get the two cards. All right, I am gonna pull this first card from the 54 card deck. All right, got the first card. And again, like I was saying, similar to this constellation, energetic. It's just the piling up of theme, and that's how we can let the universe in. We give it a couple of different opportunities to communicate, and you know, that's what we're doing here. So no, this isn't the deck. Give me a second here. Here we go. No, that's my Tarot Marseille deck. Here we go. So where did I pull? Okay, bear with me. So okay, this is production, the card production, the 8 of diamonds, the sun in Virgo, production card. Interesting. This is a card that didn't come up much in this week's transits, but we did just have a Virgo moon this last week. And I know I used that. I talked about it in my last video, that Virgo moon as it was applying to Venus and separating from Mercury. I actually ended up traveling during that moon, and things went great, swimmingly. I mean, and I'm just, I feel lucky. There was some uncertainty, and I made it through safely to where I am now. So for me, I look back and I'm just reflecting on that Virgo moon. It was waxing, and maybe some of the things that were initiated then. And you know, maybe this is telling us that what we started last week, maybe we can try to continue and carry it into this week. That syzygy does have, and let's just go to the chart here. If you check it out in the full moon chart, you do have Mercury and Venus still just about over a degree there, but still very, very close. So maybe this card is telling us that we can maybe keep working. This is Mercury in an earth sign. This is the sun's decan in Virgo, okay? But Virgo is Mercury's earth domicile, and Mercury's in Taurus, the earth sign, with Venus. So, and this card is very much sometimes about producing and just staying with things, bringing the consciousness to the efforts as we're having to work and manage. So, you know, I just think it's auspicious to maybe try to carry through with this fixed sign difficulty. Maybe you've got a project you're working on you can keep at, or keep your consciousness focused with that energy, with that Mercury focus that Mercury can bring, and that detailed analytic. But look to last week and maybe what you can carry into this week. That's what I would think about this card. And let's get the final card. Let's see what else we can bring into this video and into this weekly analysis. So here it is. All right, this will be this is okay. Justice, Libra. Justice in Libra. You know, again, this is Venus. You know, Venus is ruling Libra, and so you have with this reading, you've got Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury, and then you have Libra, which is the Justice card, ruled by Venus. So this reading, I'm thinking we need to go back into that Mercury-Venus conjunction this week and maybe talk a little bit more about it. You know, what else can this be about here? I think of Venus as enjoying things and being pleasure. You know, it's pleasurable, it's luxuriating. And then you combine Mercury, maybe it's the detailed side of it. You know, maybe like manis and petties. That's very mercurial. I do my own nails, and it takes time, and sometimes I get frustrated with it. I don't really like to do that. It's a fixed, you know, to sit with it. That's Taurus, and do it. And then file the nails. So maybe there's something like that kind of beautification that's mercurial and detail oriented that can maybe help win the day. You know, I also think that Libra here, anytime you see that sword with justice, you know, don't forget this is Saturn. You know, Saturn is exalted in Libra. Saturn is in Aquarius, dominating this fixed axis because it's earlier in zodiacal order than Venus, the other planet that rules a fixed sign during these pileups. And you know, maybe we need to think about the borders and boundaries of Saturn as a way to kind of right or balance our lives out. That's what I would say here as well. You know, sometimes too much pleasure with Venus isn't a good thing. We need to bring it back up into the mind and think about a little bit, you know, maybe organize or structure the time so that we're not just, I do it, I lay in bed, I just get on my phone, surf the internet, you know, but maybe that Saturn needs to come in and get us out kind of working in some austere, to balance out the pleasure of Venus. So, okay, that's what I'm going to give you this week. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Hang in there, get through it, and I'll talk to you very soon. As always, you can go to my website, sjanderson144.com. Look for my offerings there. It's all explanatory there. Click here to schedule a reading. You can read about what I do. And thank you very much for being here, and I'll speak to you very soon.